everyone. JP Backwell here, Managing Director at ILUS and CEO at ILUS's industrial subsidiary, QIND. So, as mentioned recently, Nick and I would be doing video podcasts, and Nick is traveling today, whereas I got back late last night. So, for now, you have my video. I'd like to give you a business update covering a fairly broad spectrum with everything from general housekeeping through to, various updates on our progress, our plans, and our deals, etc. So next video will follow, I'm sure, as soon as he can find a gap to sit down and get it done in the next couple of days or so. There's certainly more than enough to chew on from my side for now. So let me get right into the bullet points that I've noted down, some of which are in response to questions we regularly receive from shareholders or just following on from previous press releases and other updates. So first things first, the ILUS OTCQB uplist application. That will be submitted after the ILUS 10Q is filed and still during the month of May. So there's no specific reason for this time frame other than we've just been very busy working through a ton of documents, preparing various filings, and we're really just working through a sequence which is balancing both due dates and business priority. So in short, ILUS OTCQB application will be submitted this month. And then with regards to the ILUS name change, as we do get a number of questions from shareholders regarding that as well, we did respond to FINRA's questions as we needed to, and we're really just waiting for feedback from them at this point. So hopefully that goes through soon. And we've also been working on some restructuring and some streamlining across the businesses, and that's part of the reason why I spent the last 10 or so days in Dubai, working closely with Nick, with the ILUS management team, and with senior management from some of our operating companies to strategize and to implement some operational changes. And there are a number of improvements that we're making at head office, including on the finance and the legal side of the business, which is certainly needed. And then also behind the scenes, we've been working on making some heavyweight additions to the board of QIND. So we look forward to announcing those when the time is right. It's obviously important. I think it's fairly clear where QIND is headed. And it's obviously important that we add some experienced members to that QIND board. Then I mentioned that we are working through a ton of documents. It's quite cliched. We often say that there's so much going on behind the scenes in this business, most of which, unfortunately, I can't say too much about. But just to mention that both ILUS and QIND will be filing S1 registration statements in the coming weeks, both offer very good reason to drive the businesses forward. And we'll be doing additional videos specifically on this around the time of the filings. I mean, most of you will know about QIND's preparation for an NYSE American listing. So there is one as part of the process towards that. And with ILUS itself, we'll elaborate in a separate video, but there are various aspects to it, including the aggressive growth plans for ERT that we spoke about in our press release earlier this week. And it's really all about just being prepared to close out opportunities and to keep scaling up the business. So let me just cover QIND quickly, and then I'll talk more about ERT itself. I think for now, for those who are new, it might sound like just a bunch of acronyms, but let me just quickly explain. QIND is ILUS's industrial subsidiary known as Quality Industrial Corp, and that trades on the OTC with a ticker, you guessed it, QIND. Whereas ERT stands for Emergency Response Technologies, which is ILUS's emergency response subsidiary. Now, it itself is not a publicly listed entity, but it is a Delaware-registered company with a group of emergency response companies that fall under its umbrella, like Firebug, like Georgia Fire, like Bullhead Products, like BCD Fire, etc. So I know it's obvious for many of you, but perhaps that might be helpful for some listeners. And if you want more information on the 4 ILUS subsidiaries, check out, for example, our ILUS shareholder meeting recording that's on our YouTube channel. And that in that there's a couple of slides, or certainly I know one clear slide that talks about the ILUS subsidiaries and the plans that we have for them. So we have previously announced that we are certainly currently working towards the uplisting of QIND to the NYSE American, and we believe that this should take place during the summer of 2023. Now, we have this week mentioned that it will likely be in the late summer, or late winter if you're in the southern hemisphere. But I just want to clarify that we have to keep that time frame broad because we do not have control over the exact time frame. Let me just delve into that a bit deeper, right? And maybe it'll be helpful to you. because we're certainly not obligated to give any time frame. I mean, it's probably, for me, a lose-lose situation, right? Because if I say early summer and it's late summer, I'm wrong. And if I say late summer and it's early summer, I'm wrong. But this is the number one question we get from shareholders, and we have been getting for some time now. So we certainly do our best to keep everyone informed with as much as we can say with the information that we have at hand. And so we'll very soon be submitting or filing documents, and the SEC or NYSE, depending on the document, will review them before taking the time that they take. And so what we have done is add up all the known timeframes for each of the documents to become effective or to get approved, whatever their individual case may be. And then we have arrived at late summer based on conservative assumptions. But some of the processes could happen sooner and others could take longer. So really, we're sitting with a fairly broad window area that the uplist could take place within. And based on best and worst case scenarios, we're simply doing our best to keep you informed. And hopefully, as we get closer, we'll be able to narrow that window period down for you. I just thought I'd mention that because I think, and I certainly understand that to many of you, it is very, very important. So I think it's important that you're aware in that regard. However, the most important point, though, is that we are progressing towards the goal of uplisting QIND to the NYSE American, and those processes have gained their momentum. So that's giving us the ability also to focus on other important growth areas in QIND and the other subsidiaries. So one such QIND example is that we're looking at another large acquisition of a company that is quite similar to Quality International, although runs their operations slightly differently, where Quality International manufactures almost everything on site, since it has its own enormous facilities, including its own waterfront facility for loading products onto vessels before shipping to customers across the world. This company manufactures modules at their facility in the Middle East before assembling on site to the customer. So a slightly different approach, but a similar end result. And, that targeted new acquisition would be quite complementary, we believe, in the QIND stable. So it was certainly further confirmed when I visited them earlier this week for a next round of discussions and to inspect one of their sites. Now, they have similar revenue to QI. They have currently $120 million worth of orders in production, approximately. They're definitely growing, and they've certainly got lots of room for more growth. So really, what it comes down to for us is we're already planning the growth of QIND on a big board, and we're looking to initially take QIND beyond a $200 million a year company. And it's not just about getting to a big board that's important. It's very much about us having a rock solid growth strategy and being able to maximize opportunities once we are there. So yeah, I think that's important just also to mention so that you have that picture in mind. Regarding ERT, earlier this week in our press release, we confirmed that the strategy being rolled out for ERT is one where we're streamlining the businesses and the manufacturing regionally. And since QIND is progressing with its own momentum, that gives us the opportunity to aggressively implement the regional strategy for ERT in line with a clear plan towards uplisting ERT itself. And should we be able to achieve the targets we've set for ourselves along the way, we believe that is something that could take place fairly smoothly after the uplist of QIND. Now, I certainly believe we've got a very out-of-the-box plan for ERT, and I also believe it's one that should add some serious value for ILUS shareholders and also bring some real excitement back to that side of the business, which is important. So yeah, I'll just quickly summarize how we are streamlining the ERT businesses regionally. I know that sometimes these things can be forgotten. So firstly, as we said at the start of the year, for ERT, we're aiming to hugely expand its US manufacturing capability. And in line with that, we're now focusing on the completion of what I would say is a fairly large US vehicle manufacturing acquisition. So that company did roughly $50 million in revenue last year. They're very profitable. They have a $140 million vehicle order book. And closing that deal is quite important to us, to our strategy, as I've just mentioned. And it will also prove quite instrumental in an even larger deal that we have I suppose you could say our ambitious sights set on, right? So I'll be in the US with Dan very soon regarding all of that. But anyway, in terms of strategy, we are merging the two current ERT companies in the US under that ERT North America umbrella, and all going well. we will add that US vehicle manufacturing acquisition under that same umbrella. And then that will, of course, all be led by our supremely capable ERT CEO, Dan Peters. And then in the Middle East, we are merging the 4 current ERT companies under fairly obvious ERT Middle East. And we're also merging the European manufacturing and potentially a European wildfire acquisition under the ERT Europe umbrella. So that's the strategy we are currently busy with, and we are also consolidating all manufacturing outside the US to Serbia. So to clarify, that's for all products made outside the US, and we're shifting all of that manufacturing from the UK and from Dubai to Serbia, where we'll be leveraging the Serbian government incentives in the process. So that transition is already underway. And as mentioned in the press release, the driving force behind that is really to increase operational efficiency and to reduce manufacturing costs. So we are acutely aware that as ILUS grows, we need to reduce complexity and also develop each subsidiary so that each has its own management team capable of implementing the ILUS strategy. So that is what we are doing in ERT. And as mentioned, we expect that ERT could uplist in an impressive time frame after QIND. And I believe that certainly makes the next few months quite exciting for ERT. ERT is, by the way, bidding on some large contracts in Europe and the Middle East, especially in Saudi Arabia, which is booming, by the way, and has been for some time. I think it will certainly continue to boom for a while to come. There's some huge projects going on there. One of the projects I'm involved in, for example, with the team is over $20 million contract value just in the first phase for us alone, again, if we're successful. And we're certainly well positioned in terms of that opportunity. But it's very, very clear that we need to have large-scale manufacturing capability if we're truly going to corner those larger opportunities or more of those larger opportunities without outsourcing parts of the manufacturing capability to our partners. So I'm certainly working very hard now for us to deliver that end-to-end manufacturing capability. And we're working on doing that not only through acquisitions, but also that regional strategy that I've mentioned. And of course, Serbia then plays a very important role in terms of that large-scale end-to-end manufacturing capability. I'll speak more about Serbia shortly, but just briefly, you will have seen that our defense subsidiary, Hyperion Defense Solutions, recently signed that exclusive global distribution deal with a UK company called Tioga. And that's to distribute the Super Broom range of IED detection technology. Improvised explosive device detection technology, for those who are not aware of what IED means. There's also an agreement in that to acquire the intellectual property for the technology following the achievement of certain targets, which I, for one, am confident that Hyperion will achieve. I don't really want to rehash the importance of counter-IED technology in military circles again, but it is, to my knowledge, one of the 3 most important areas in terms of defense capability requirements. So in simple terms, effective counter-IED technology that will save civilian and military operator lives is in extremely high demand at the moment, and it's demand that will not be subsiding for a while to come, right? And we have that technology in our arsenal now, and it's really the cream of the crop in its field. As you will have seen in the press release, it's groundbreaking, it's revolutionary technology. So the Hyperion team has already been conducting demonstrations of the Super Broom. I know one of the government opportunities that they're working on is over $10 million. They had the demonstrations for that opportunity in Dubai earlier this week, which went well. So the next step is that they'll be traveling to that country for the next phase of demonstration and testing. And they've got several governments and military organizations that are interested in that technology. So I'm very excited about the progress that Hyperion is making, not only in that counter-IED space, but also in the joint close air support space and the security risk management space. So kudos to the Hyperion guys. They've been working incredibly hard. We're incredibly proud of them, and really excited about the progress that they're making. And as I mentioned, just regarding our progress in Serbia, we've recently confirmed that our E-Raptor manufacturing is moving forward in Kragujevac in Serbia. And so we expect the first E-Raptors to be rolling off that production line towards the middle of Q3. As mentioned, we're also moving the Firebug manufacturing to Kragujevac, and we'll be engaging with the Serbian government regarding a separate investment project for Firebug. I'll be in Serbia next week, mostly regarding a much larger opportunity near Belgrade that we're negotiating, but also to check on the progress being made in Kragujevac. So just looking at all of the impressive results that large European and also international companies have achieved through moving their manufacturing operations to Serbia, I think it's very exciting for us as a company to be moving in this direction. And we have the added bonus that the doors to new, larger opportunities just keep opening up to us in Serbia, especially as we continue to progress as a company and as our reputation continues to strengthen locally. Just one last thing before I conclude regarding the ILUS share lockup. The concept of the share lockup has not changed. It is still very much in our plans, and we continually assess the timing of it. I think one needs to understand that we could actually roll out a share lockup almost right away, but the uptake will not be what it should be if shareholders can't tangibly see what the potential upside is for themselves. And we just can't share that level of detail at this stage. To do so, I think would jeopardize our more important plans as a business, and I know most of you are equally as excited about those plans as we are. So I think it's important to note that. And also, right now we're in a period of economic uncertainty where by and large people want access to liquidity, and locking up shares without knowing exactly what the potential benefits of doing so will be doesn't necessarily make the most sense. We certainly believe that the uptake will not be what it should be. So the point is, we'll announce the share lockup at the right time when we believe it adds the most value to ILUS shareholders and to ILUS itself. I know that might seem quite repetitive from previous announcements. Again, as I said, we continually reassess, and at the right time, we'll announce the share lockup. We'll announce all the details of the potential benefits to ILUS shareholders. And at that point, I believe ILUS shareholders will say, there it is, I get it. I get why they chose to do it that way at this point in time. And, I think it'll be received very positively at that point in time. So that's that with regards to the share lockup. I think that more or less covers what I can update on at this point in time, bearing in mind that I can't make specific announcements in this forum. That will take place in upcoming press releases and 8K filings for material information. So I apologize if you came here looking for specific announcements, but if that's the case, please do keep an eye out for our press releases where announcements will be made. And for those interested in the progress of the business itself, I hope I've been able to put some more meat on the bones for you, so to speak, and that you have a better idea of our progress and of our plans. Thanks again, sincerely, for your continued support. And I'll be sure to follow this video up with another one after our next phase of announcements that are coming. So from my side, bye for now.